Alright lads, back again for another round. Let's have a crack at this, eh? So, what do you reckon's going to happen with this Bludish uprising? Might be bad, eh? Might be bad. Chapter 4, checkmate. Yeah. Alright. Call with Evelyn Victor. Is she the education minister? She is, eh? Midnight I was in the living room watching the tail end of a news report when I heard the phone ring. I sighed and walked over to the phone, wondering who could be calling me this late. Anyway, don't you know what time it is? I heard a soft voice from the other end. Hello, Anton? This is Evelyn. Sorry for calling so late. Something wrong? Yes, no, I don't know actually. Well, spit it out, woman, what's going on? The thing is, I was supposed to meet with Peter today to hand him the signed divorce papers, but he didn't come to our designated meeting point. I figured he might have been too drunk to remember, so I went to the apartment he's been renting, but he wasn't there either. I asked around. Landlord, neighbours, friends, no one knows where he is. Bloody idiot's blimmin' offed himself, hasn't he? Trust me, Anton, I couldn't be more excited to be rid of this man, but I can't close off this chapter of my life without his cooperation. Cold. It's probably just with some other girl. I don't know, Anton, he was in bad shape after your press conference. Can't you get your police contacts to look into this, just to be on the safe side? Alright, if it gives you peace of mind, I will. Thanks, Anton, that'd be great. I gotta pick one of these. I knew, by the way, about all his affairs. I'm sorry I never came to you about it. Boys will be boys, isn't that what they say? Get some sleep, Evelyn. Alright, as I put down the phone, Monica sleepily approached with a glass of water in her hand. Very good. Who was that? Is everything alright? It was Evelyn. She said Peter went missing. Drowning in sorrows, I wager. I'm surprised she still cares about him. She was a good influence on him. That's the nice thing to say, even if it's not true. For a while, she made her way upstairs. Call Carl to ask him about Peter? Yeah, that's what I'll do. Yes, Mr. President. Sorry for calling this late. Not a problem, sir. I only sleep for 3 15-minute intervals per night. Wow, what a madman. What can I do? I need you to find someone. As you wish. Who do you want found, sir? Peter Victor, ex-Prom Vice President. As you command, I'll report my findings shortly. Very well. Thanks for your help, as always. Have a good night. As I was eating breakfast the next morning, the phone rang. Good morning, Mr. President. Well, did you find him? Not exactly, sir. His wedding ring, a half-empty bottle of pills, and a handwritten note found on a bridge overlooking the Unga River. Told you. He bloomin' offed himself, the idiot. We surmise he took his own life. Yeah, I was afraid you were going to say that. Sorry for your loss, sir. Would you like to break the news to Mrs. Victor, or should I? I'll tell Evelyn. Thanks again for your help. Of course. Yeah. He didn't take it very well, did he? Still, buy the ticket, take the ride, I suppose. Increased crime and racial violence in Sana. Yep, predictable result. Read the report from Lenkirk. Salmon left rotting in storage. Mayor of Lenkirk requests financial aid for the city. He reported that the city is lacking in customers. Tons of salmon are left to rot on a daily basis. The situation has caused many fishermen to move away from the city. Not good, but at least they can find work somewhere else. What's happening here? Read the report from Moorbell. The Mayor of Moorbell requests financial aid for the city. He reported that the city will be a ghost town if no help is sent. The lack of goods and materials flowing from Morna and Holsword is the main factor in the city's economic problem. We'll just export south instead of north. What's the issue? Why is that happening? Because the trade embargo from Valksland. So the trade embargo will cause short-term pain, and then the economy will adapt. And then once we've adapted, then they will lift it in order to look like the good guys, so it'll be disruptive. the economy will start to shift back again, and then they'll find some excuse to re-implement the sanctions so that the economy keeps going back and forth. That's a long-term plan though. I'll probably be out of office by then anyway. So, we can provide them a variety of financial assistance, but it must be predicated on changing the way that the economy works towards the way that it ought to work, so accelerating the change rather than trying to hold up industries that are no longer viable in the hope that Suzerain will drop the treaties, drop the trade embargoes, and then things will return to normal, which is a phrase that never means anything, of course. Okay, what do we got? Vice President's suicide confirmed. Yep, that's right. Okay. Yeah, that's right, he's gone. Alright. Arrange a state funeral, that is correct. And what do we got here? Go to the funeral. Our convoy pulled up to the gates of the National Cemetery in Uluru, Peter's hometown. Monica and Diana were beside me in the car. The news of Peter's death had hit Frank especially hard. Rather than attend the funeral, he'd taken a few days off from school to have time for himself. Monica looked numb and empty. Diana appeared to be deep in thought. But how did Uncle Peter die? Why won't anyone tell me? She looked like she was about to cry. It doesn't matter, sweetheart. She turned her head to look out the window, hiding her tears. Hug Diana. Papa, tell me the truth. He killed himself, love. But why? Anton, she is still too young. It's better to remember Uncle Peter by the way he lived, not by the way he died. Your mother is right, Diana. Sorry, I can't sugarcoat reality for her forever, Monica. The driver's window rolled down. We've arrived, Mr. President. My deepest condolences. I know you and Mr. Victor were very close. You're right, we were. Serge went outside and opened our door. As soon as we stepped out, camera flashes went off. Evelyn Victorn was waiting for us. Upon seeing her, Monica ran up to her and they hugged. I'm so sorry. How are you holding up? So. It's hard to play the bereaved widow knowing the kind of man he really was. But still, we were married for almost 20 years. And the way he died? Just too sudden. They hugged once again. Evelyn wiped her tears and patted Diana on the head before turning to me. Hug her. Right. She took my hand in hers as she pulled back. I know there's nothing either of us could have done, but I still can't help feeling responsible for this. It's not your fault, Evelyn. Evelyn swallowed hard and her eyes were filled with resolve. All right, let's go. The four of us... Oh, man, attending funerals. Blimmin' hell. I could be headshotting noobs in Counter-Strike right here now. This is what I do for you guys. The four of us, Evelyn, Monica, Diana and I, took our places towards the front of the crowd. From afar, we heard the sound of military boots approaching. A soldier was leading a group with a large framed photo of Peter in his hands. Behind him followed other soldiers, marching alongside a cart with a carved goat on the front. On top of the cart, wrapped in a Swedish flag, was the coffin of Peter Victorn, 4th Vice President of Swordland. The group stopped in front of us. They lifted the coffin up off the cart and laid it down on a platform. One of the soldiers took the flag, folded it and presented it to me. I walked behind the podium to deliver my speech. Today we mourn Peter Victorn, the 4th Vice President of Swordland. And, what have we got here? A true sword who strived to achieve the best for his country against all odds? Yeah, kinda. A very successful statesman with whom I worked very closely over many years. Except for some pretty major flaws. My brother, our bond was not a bond of blood. It was something stronger. It was a bond of friendship and camaraderie. Yeah, but I backstabbed him, so I can't say that. Alright, let's go with the first one. A true sword who strived to achieve the best for his country against all odds. God's word says no man can be perfect, and Peter was certainly no exception. A bit on the nose. We drank together, cried together, laughed together, fought together. He was there with me at the very beginning. He swore he would support our cause until the end. Well, okay, that's the true one. Despite his unconscionable actions towards the very end of his life, I chose to remember him as he was. Bit harsh for a funeral. Though we did not always see eye to eye, I owe Peter everything. I wouldn't be president if not for him. We must all remember him not at his worst, but for the good deeds he has done. That's right. The past is the past. We must always look to the future. That's what he would have wanted. There's this old saying, we don't owe the dead anything but honesty, but that doesn't apply to funerals. The past is the past. We must always look to the future. That's what he would have wanted. Yeah, good. The path he paved will go down in history. Potentially good. Never before Swordland had a vice president like Peter. Never again will it. Yeah, that could be taken in two ways. I'm not keen on that one. Alright, we'll go with the first one. Look to the future. Morning shall come. Victory is close. Cool. And then they had the salute. Surprised I checked my face. My eyes were wet. No, you're crying. Yes, I am. Come on, Diana, let's go. The coffin was fully lowered and the tombstone placed, and the crowd began dispersing. Leave a bottle of whiskey on his grave. Right on. Sad occasion. I've been drunk a bit less and worked a bit harder. It never would have happened. Okay. Former vice president to have state funeral, that's right. Bit of wind. Rumberg informant and adulterer to be awarded with state funeral. Yeah. Nothing's ever good enough for the radicals. What do we got here? Late night at the Rain household. Is this going to be more weepy stuff? Might just zip through this, get back to the foreign policy. Having a few drinks with Chiara. Those goddamn assembly pricks ruined it all. Now she knows how it feels, eh lads? Now she knows how it feels. She collapsed on the couch and buried her head in her hands. You could have invited me to the commiseration. You would have found it boring and somebody had to look after Diana. My God, I'm starting to see what I put you through all those years. Get used to it, baby. Seriously, Anton, this is what I want to do. I've never felt so alive. Yeah, give her the old huggeroo. And that's where the real politics begins. We stayed curled up on the couch talking about re-election strategy and next steps for the Women's Rights Bill until Monica took my hand and wordlessly led me upstairs to the bedroom. Finally got one in. How long has it been? Alright, codex entry added. Feta Edgel. What does that mean? Party leaders. Swordfish rider and politician of Bluish descent, former member of the First Communist Party. I like him already. Who does he work for? Poisoned by a nerve agent of a Swordfish nationalist. Alright. What do we got here? Yeah. Alright, for those of you who are keeping close notice, that's what's going on there. What's happening here? Read the report from Blackhaven. Hang on, let's smash through the news real quick first. Gibner condemns BFF terror, Swordland's largest military parade. Sweet, that should put the wind up those Rumberg pricks. What are the radicals? Nationalist attempt to assassinate Edgel. W Workers Party of Bludia record membership number. You got to take all this stuff with a grain of salt. I remember back in the old days when the International Socialist Organisation used to exist, they always used to inflate the numbers, because for them it's all about power over truth. Maybe they still exist, might still be an office with two old ladies running it. Swordland shoots down Rumberg warplane in retaliation. That's right, we did do that. Okay. Following Rumberg's demands for reparations from Swordland, the tensions have increased dramatically between the two countries. Yesterday, a Swordish warplane had been shot by the Rumberg anti-air systems. All of the pilots on board have been killed. As per the information from Rumberg, Swordish warplane has trespassed into Rumbergian airspace, whereas Swordish military reports that the plane was inside Swordish borders when it was shot. The international community is unclear on the uncertainty of the reports from both sides. So ATO will all find that we were in the right, and the CSP will find that Rumburg was in the right, and all of their aligned parties. Immediately after the incident, Swordland retaliated by sending their warplanes into the Rumburg airspace and destroying a Rumburgian jet. The tensions between Rumburg and Swordland continue to increase as the largest troop deployments in the last decade began in eastern Merkapa. That's right. What are these guys got to say? Valksland increases naval presence in the Grey Strait. Yep, predictable. This one here. So hopefully Lesbia and Ato will bring some patrols. Unlikely. I mean, I imagine they'll operate in this space here, the Antikyrian Sea. Unlikely they'll be able to come and dominate the Markian Sea. But looking at it from a naval perspective, right? You could say this is the first area, their kind of natural expansion in StarCraft terms. This is the second area. This is the contested area, where if there's any battles, there'll be. And then they'll be in this area here, right? So if Ato can take the Markian Sea, that will put a check on Valksland, that they'll only be able to operate here. Problem being that attempts to reinforce the Markian Sea by the ocean will be, they'll have to pass through this narrow area, so they can always be cut off. Theoretically, they could reinforce overland and then go from there, but that's much slower. So OODA loop gets interdicted and then it becomes difficult to operate. So I'd say it's pretty unlikely that we'll be able to get the Markian Sea under control of ATO unless we spend on it. But I still would rather spend the money on land forces. Alright. Josef Lankea reports that a Rumburgian warplane was shot down by anti-aircraft upon violating a Swedish airspace. According to the report of the General Staff, the plane was flying over the town of Halgan inside Swedish borders and did not retreat upon warning. Now, fair enough. I think everyone would agree that, violation of airspace by a military plane and refusal to identify inside of our air defence identification zone is grounds for shooting down. It's pretty acceptable and legal. What do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 points of economic development, so the economy is doing the best that it's ever done. Fantastic. Alright, one-on-one interview from Kairut. Galada organised an interview for the presidency on the internationally renowned One-on-One. The famous journalist Tuomas Saka will be asking the questions. The crew of One-on-One and Tuomas Saka will arrive next week in Lockhaven from Kairut. Alright, I'm going to need to put aside some time for a briefing in order to make that happen correctly. And what do we got here? Read the report from Conriart. Valkslandian Navy spotted in full force in Helgeland. Predictable result. According to intelligence reports, blah blah. Okay, so they're blockading the island. Reports warn that a possible violent conflict between Agnolian and Valkslandian forces. Swedish Navy and Conriart on standby. Alright, so if there's a naval conflict between Valkslandian and Agnolia, I would expect Rumburg to apply land pressure, which is the go sign for our invasion. Now, we don't know what's happening off map here, so I don't know if it makes sense to push this way, cut off and capture all of this and have it in order to draw forces off Rumburg, or if we move our forces up into Argenland and threaten them directly, right? Push up to Saarburg or Dome or something like that, in order to keep the pressure off Rumburg. If we can, and like I've said before, if we can push up to the Tranquil Sea and create a kind of pocket so that they have to go the long way around, then that would be an advantage. But what I don't want to do is get into a naval battle with Valksland, which, if we went hard on Rumburg, probably it would turn into a 2-on-2, Agnolia and Swordland versus Valksland and Rumburg, which could stay a proxy war, or it could be turn into a full CSP versus NATO. And we don't have nukes yet, so I'm not willing to go into a full-scale world war without nuclear weapons. Alright, campaign advertisement, cool. Have we done all of the things? I thought there was a bunch of other reports to read. Must have smashed through them already. Okay. Election of 1957, medium-scale ad campaign. Sweet. Alright, let's bankrupt ourselves on that, eh? What do we got here? Election speech. Oof. Is there anything else we need to do first? Probably not. Alright. The sun was starting to peek through the blinds of my suite in the Grand Chariot Hotel in Enrica. I hadn't slept at all that night. I was too busy thinking about how I could rally my party's conservative base at today's election kick-off. I was just pulling on my clothes when two soft, sharp knocks came at the door. Lucian. Good morning, sir. Morning, Lucian. Lucian sat down in the suite's office chair and pulled a piece of paper from his jacket pocket. Just thought I'd drop off some talking points for your speech today. Much appreciated. No trouble at all. Ready to hit the campaign trail again? I'm ready if you are, Mr. President. I'll see you at the rally. I almost forgot. The Archpriest of Dyer couldn't be present today, but wanted to relay a message of support to you and your family. Suspicious. What did he say? I bless the rains down in Enrica. Lucian left the room. I finished putting on my tie and reread my notes for the morning's speech. A few hours later I was waiting in the wings for the Norsword Auditorium in Enrica. In the audience were several thousand of my conservative supporters. Behind the podium hung a Swedish flag and a giant banner that read... So if I'm primarily going for the conservative supporters, so the thing with the speech making is the temptation is always to promise the audience what they want, but because you speak to multiple audiences, you very quickly end up looking like a hypocrite if you do that. So you need to find a party line and stick to it. Okay, so victory is close. Peace, prosperity, and the Swedish way. Your land, my land, Swordland. For a united Swordland, we're going to go with number 2, peace, prosperity, and the Swedish way, because that plays into our strengths, right? Peace through superior firepower and all of the stuff that we've done for the economy. And the Swedish way kind of has that sort of very slightly nationalistic tone that should play into the conservative support. I'm not doing it because we're talking to a conservative audience, it's because I want to find a party line that kind of brings both the Libs and the Conservatives on side. Okay, everyone cheered as I walked on stage. Though Mayor Curtin Lest was now part of the opposition as a member of the NFP, it seemed most of Enrica was still on my side. Nice. Lucian gave a short speech introducing me, then it was my turn. I stepped behind the podium and took a deep breath. Sons and daughters of Swordland. The past 3 years have seen our country tested over and again. I stand before you now ready to pledge myself to God and Swordland yet again. Pretty good. Yet Swordland has prevailed. Under my administration we are stronger than ever. True. That has the advantage of being true. Very good. Yet the Reign administration stands strong, ready to lead Swordland to greatness once more. Yep. I don't know what the cultural background of Swordland is like, whether it's the kind of one which the kind of culture that respects putting yourself forward and saying I'm the best, or the kind that goes, my team is behind me and all of that kind of thing. Alright, I'm going to go with the second one. Under my administration we're stronger than ever, because that could be counted both militarily and economically. Together we managed to get the economic crisis under control. I have pulled Swordland's economy from the depths of recession. With my re-election, Swordland's economy will continue to thrive. There we go. As armed militants threaten to tear us apart, I promise I will uphold law and order. Law and order always plays well. Partly because it's difficult to attack. No, we want less law and order, right? It's a difficult message. I will continue to defend Swordland against threats, whether internal or external. True. I will continue to seek retribution from our enemies, both at home and abroad. Not a revanchist. I will continue to fight for the constitutional reforms Swordland deserves. I'm not going to pledge myself to that because that didn't work out too well last time. Although I would happily institute constitutional reforms because it is what the population wants. Alright. And I will continue to root out corruption and wrongdoing, even within the institutions we hold dear. Yeah, that hasn't been a priority, although I would like to do that. I remain committed to stamping out the corruption that has plagued Swedish corporations for far too long. No, I have to pick one of these two, do I? Alright, I'll go with the first one. Thunderous applause erupted. Fantastic. Swordland has changed, but the USP remains as strong as ever. Some have accused me of straying from the values of the USP. To them I say, I am the USP. No, that's too egotistical. We'll take the first option. There has been tremendous progress made in this term and more is to come. I promise you there is no way we can lose. Yeesh. I have devoted an unprecedented amount of effort towards making Swordland's economy the best in the world. We will not lose. There has been tremendous progress made in this term and more is to come. I have devoted an unprecedented amount of effort towards making Swordland's economy the best in the world. We will not lose. Yeah, that's good. Because we will not lose could be interpreted as an economic promise rather than an election promise. I and Vice President Gallardo shall lead Swordland into a bright new era. The experience and expertise of Vice President Gallardo will help guide us into a brilliant future. No, both of us. Okay, good. We will form a broad coalition of supporters to make sure morning finally comes. It is time, my fellow swords. A new dawn is upon us and it begins right here and right now. Yeah, a certain amount of triumphalism I think is forgivable. So remember, vote Rain 57, a Morgnaves core. It's time to get back on board the rain train. That's too funny not to say. More like the pain train. The audience roared as streamers shot out of cannons behind me. My re-election campaign had officially begun. I stepped down from the podium. Government budget increased. Oof, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points in the economy and 1 in the budget. Awesome. What does the news say? Lookhaven, massive Rain 57 campaign begins. I got a good feeling about this election run, lads. I think we're going to knock it out of the park. I don't see how the Libs can compete with us. Briefing on the current economic situation. Sure, I could go for a bit of backpacking. Well done, lads, well done. I arrived at the Ministry of Economy and proceeded upstairs. An assistant waiting by the door to the meeting room took my jacket. I opened the door and entered the largest boardroom in the building. Simon was sitting alone with a glass of water and his documents laid out before him. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good to see you. Likewise. He stood up when I entered and approached me. After a quick handshake, I took a seat. A knock was heard on the door and Lucian entered the room. Apologies, I got held up. Did you start yet? No, Mr. Vice President, not yet. Now that everyone is here, let's begin. As you all know, the agenda today is the economy review for the entire term. I will brief you quickly on what we've done so far, just as a refresher. Righto, get on with it then. He gathered the documents in a pile in front of him and adjusted his glasses. From the pile he produced 2 booklets and handed them over to us. Our extra focus on the economy has resulted in some small-scale positive growth. Is that what you call that? The extra resource allowed my ministry to optimise our plans as much as possible. It would be great if we follow up on this focus in the next term. Let's delve into more in-grain economic details now. In-grain? Ingrained? Maybe he's going to talk about agricultural ones. Please turn to page 5. Yeah. Let's start off with our economy plan. I'm glad to say that we're on track with our initial plan to go for a market economy. Most of our decisions so far have been pretty consistent. We need to keep at it, make sure we follow through with our plans. Agreed, we still have much to do. Let's move on with the report. If I were to describe what we've done so far, I would say it was very close to a laissez-faire economy system. That's right. Please turn to page 16. Status of trade and the effects of foreign policy. Here we go. I'm happy to say that our trade has increased since the beginning of our term. Good. We are on the right path. We should keep at it and maximise the potential. More trade means a more vibrant economy, which will increase our economic development. Although an argument can be made for it, we have started to become heavily reliant on other foreign economies. That's alright so long as they're ATO members, I don't care about that. This doesn't give us good rhetoric for the upcoming elections. We'll have to spin it around. That's what you excel at, Mr. Gallardo. As you have proved many times before, I'm sure you will have no problem spinning this one around. We need to try to aim for a more balanced approach. I don't see what's wrong with a little extra reliance on our allies and neighbours. We need to fix this issue as soon as possible. Swordsland can't be a nation that relies on others. No, we don't need to strive for autarky at the moment. We'll have to carefully consider this matter on our second term. Please turn to page 17. While trying to fix the issues with our economic system, we went for a mixed approach. We didn't hold businesses above all else, and we also tried to answer the requests of Swedish citizens. The balance is delicate and fragile. That's right. Bad news is the living standards are decreasing. We receive more and more complaints about our welfare systems. Which means less votes. Our opponents will use this against us. Now, page 34. That's bad. My hope was that with the strength of the economy, and the restriction on immigration, eventually the wages would go up and people would be able to afford a better standard of living. I'm not sure if it's a case of the plan is wrong and so the profits are all going to the wealthy and that's all there is to it, or if it's a case of the results just haven't come through the economy yet. Alright, we have lost value in terms of our production rates compared to last year's. This is one of our weakest points right now. Really? How is the production down? That can't be right. Then we need to fix this as soon as possible. I need everyone on this next term, as you wish, sir. I will take note. Moving on to the logistics. We have problems in terms of logistics in our country. The infrastructure is currently lacking in quality and quantity. Yeah, we have one good logistics corridor, and we need to expand that out into all of the. We need to increase the network out to all of the nodes around it. We need to make new roads and improve the already existing ones. There is rightful complaints from the people and the businesses, that's right. Ease of access means faster delivery and a more vibrant internal economy after all. Correct. We are very close to the end. I wanted to talk about a few numbers. Turn to page 57. Our inflation rate is currently at an amazing 2%, down from 7%, lowest that I've seen Swordsland since the beginning of our country. Good. Swedish ren's value has been largely maintained and the consumer prices have been stabilised, which means that Swedish citizens are happier. Fantastic. There's nothing more important than the well-being of our citizens. Agreed. Mr. President, do you have any questions so far? What's the debt situation? Well, I can see what that is. We're on one. Our debt is at 360 billion SR, down from 427 billion SR at the beginning of our term. Oh, I see, right, the budget is the income, not the total standing. That's fine. We managed to bring it down quite a bit. As a result, the international investment has grown along with our government budget. Excellent. How are we doing with unemployment? This is really important. Lastly, the unemployment rate is down to 5%, down from 16%. Hell yeah! That is magnificent. This change is mostly due to investments and economic planning. You are welcome. And what are the latest numbers on the GDP? Currently our GDP is 513 billion SR, a major increase from the 310 billion SR we had at the beginning of our term. We've knocked it out of the park, lads. As per latest stats, the economy grew 16% in the last 4 years on average. 16% year on year or 16% in total? As per the latest stats, the economy grew 16% in the last 4 years on average. I'm going to say 16% each year, year on year. We are enjoying an increased economic capacity. Those are all the questions I had. Very well. I want to quickly highlight our budget expenditure. The numbers I got tell that overall we've been pretty conservative with spending our government budget. It's a good virtue to think ahead. However, we shouldn't forget that money is not spent. That is not spent. It's just a piece of paper. Don't you worry. We're going to keep spending. Now going into the elections and hopefully a second term, we need to decide on the way forward. One thing is clear. Currently we have a solid economy, more than enough flexibility for something grand. This will ensure a dramatic increase to the public opinion and the approval rates for our administration. Yeah, Muldoon's old think big approach, eh? And why not? We can afford it after all. It's sure to be helpful with the elections. Yeah, I mean, that's good, but I only regard that as an upside. What I really want is to find something which is going to benefit the nation. What should we do, Mr. President? Any ideas? Pay back all student debts. No, that's a terrible idea. That's going to cost us a huge amount of money, and the benefits will only be felt by the middle and upper class. We will give an unemployment wage to the people. -3 government budget. No, I don't think that that's necessarily worthwhile. Because we want to incentivise. We don't want to reduce the incentive for people to move into employment yet. Right? I'm willing to have an unemployment wage in place, but only once we're definitely out of this hole. As if those of you who are long-term viewers of this will know that we have the way that we did it is in the first set of videos where we're just really strict on making sure the economy was absolutely hooning. We did everything we could. Once we got it going, then we got to start to spend. And you might think at this point we could continue to do that, but as it is with these ones, right? Student debts, unemployment and housing assistance, all things that theoretically might be the right move to be done. I would like to reach the next plateau, and then we can do the next spend after that. So, although having said that, dramatic increase to public opinion and approval rates. Yeah, but I don't think we need that. I think that we can scrape in a win even without doing these things. That's a pretty big call, eh, lads? I'm going to look like an idiot if we end up losing the election because I didn't do this. Unemployment, housing assistance, student debts. I'm going to go with a housing assistance one. Because... Why? What's the rationale for that? Because it's better than the other two. Yeah, but that's not enough. Yes, it's the best of the three options, and yes, I want to choose one. But what are the actual implications of housing assistance? It will increase the wealth of... it will increase the living standards of people, especially poor people, and the good thing about providing benefits to the poorest subsection of society is that they always spend all of the money that they get. They don't save any, so it all just goes straight back into the economy. Whereas if we paid back student debts, middle and upper class people would be like, sweet, we've got all this money, what are we going to do with it? We might just stick it in the stock market or something like that, right? Or save it. And the unemployment wage, like I say, theoretically that could be worthwhile, but I don't think it's time for that just yet. Like, we could do it, right? It will be alright, but I'm going to go with the number 3 here. Great. Housing assistance, that is an excellent idea. Well, thank you, Simon. Very well, consider it done. And now that's out of the way, on to the most important question of all, how are we doing with the recession? I see a few smiles in the room, and I think we earned it. We have almost eradicated the recession in its entirety. Bam. Pro move. We are now in a period, what I call thank you, Simon, correct grammar in the house, that I call the Swedish recovery period. This warrants a celebration for sure. Achievement unlocked, Swedish economic recovery. Flex. Ooh, money. I like the sound of it. Swedish recovery period. We've done well. History will remember the Reign administration as the administration that ended the recession. Congratulations, everyone. This was only a dream a few years ago, and we achieved it. We'll go out for drinks tonight, but for now, that's all of our meeting today. Thank you for coming. The meeting ended and I walked fast to the cafeteria to grab a coffee. Yep, fantastic. Country overview updated. Oh, look at this. All green bars. Full to the top. We need to put some bloody new ones on the top there, lads, for us to fill out. It's not enough just to be out of the recession. We're going to get the economy absolutely frickin' humming, right? We're going to make it so that even the poor have nothing to complain about. They will still complain, but we've got to make it so that their complaints are invalid. Yep, that's right. Market economy and welfare. Homelessness rate reduced. Very good. That is really good. And what's our budget? -2. I'm comfortable with that. Alright, read the report from Lockhaven. PFJP Richter's slogan, victory for everyone. And which are they? The Freedom and Justice Party. Yeah, they're the Libs. Okay. And what do we got here? Read the report from Conriart. Marcel Caronte's HOS Advertising, the biggest advertising agency in Swordland, volunteered to help with the election campaign. They will provide consulting and design work for campaign material. Thanks. That's very good. So who are these guys? Saatchi and Saatchi or someone. The agency will also provide video material for television, which will be televised extensively by the channels owned by the HOS Media Group. HOS Resorts will also be open to all party events and meetings during the campaign period. Fantastic. And what do we got? That one's a bit of a commitment. And read the report from Wholesword. NFP welcomes General Luderan's son. The National Front has welcomed General Luderan's son into their midst today at Wholesword. Seeing a Luderan back in politics is shocking to many citizens. Luderan infamously organised the military coup against former President Vichy that led to the Swedish Civil War. Mr. Kibiner has organised the event to appeal to his voter base. This is a symbolic step for the NFP, as Luderan was arguably the most well-known nationalist in Swordland. Okay. Interesting development. If I was the nationalists, I would try to move towards the centre and peel away the conservative wing of the centrist party, i.e. us, and try and gain votes that way. Because you always want to move to where the largest population of voters are, because it's democracy, right? Alright, and we'll do this one next time. Okay, lads. Good work, everyone. See you in the next vid.